Humans at the end of the day can look at one issue at a time, and AI is actually able to connect things at scale and to help us with the flood of information.
To give you a pragmatic view of what I see to be an impactful change, we will have agents doing analyst work, which is already possible.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cyber Ranges Uncovered. Today, we're unpacking one of the biggest shifts in cybersecurity, the rise of AI and how it's transforming threat prevention for better or worse. I'm joined by Miri Varbitzky from Presecurity and Ed Bisceanu from Cyber Ranges to explore what predictive AI-driven security actually looks like in practice and whether organizations are ready for it.
My name is Miri and I'm the VP Sales covering the EMEA region, and I'm also the Global Business Development Manager at Presecurity, where we are focusing on predicting and preventing breaches.
My name is Edward. I'm basically wearing two hats today. I'm doing pre-sales as engineering for Cyber Ranges, but also I'm the Chief Security Officer of the company, and I'm covering all our global locations and our cybersecurity posture.
As our first topic today, I would kind of like to start with framing, let's say, the current challenges. So I would like to briefly address the broader challenge facing security teams today. They're operating on more tools, more alerts, and more data than ever before, yet inevitably breaches continue to occur. What would you say is fundamentally broken in how organizations approach Cybersecurity Day, and how can we better address that?
Well, I think that the biggest issue today that cybersecurity is still very reactive. I think that organizations have much more tools today in alert than ever. So the entire security stack is completely full, and they are mostly still reacting after something bad already happened. So the majority of the teams today, they spend a lot of time just chasing alerts instead of actually reducing the risks. I think that we've optimized for responding in the last decades for incidents instead of just preventing them or avoiding them to happen to start with.
The cybersecurity market is broken from my perspective, and is not something that is happening today. It's happening for a few years already. We have a lot of products, we have a lot of technologies and solutions into the market. Most of the vendors claiming wrongly that they are solving the entire problem, and almost no one is solving the entire problem. So the security teams are in front of managing risks and also managing costs and dealing with the complexity coming from the market. So what is actually happening today, and it's a good thing, there are some specialists in our profession saying that the AI thing, it's a hype only, and it doesn't impact too much the field, but I don't agree with them. There are plenty of things security teams can do. I'm not speaking about only buying new tools and expensive tools, but I'm speaking about employing AI to ease their life and to make security more efficient.
AI is inevitably embedded in pretty much every cybersecurity product pitch now. What would you say is genuinely new about AI in cybersecurity, and what are we able to do with that goes beyond just this sort of rebranding of automation, but how can it actually bring value to modern threats?
I think that the real shift today by using AI in cybersecurity is that we are actually moving from the rule-based detection, that's like the old world, into the adaptive understanding. So traditionally, the security tools relied on predefined rules. Constantly, we have a recipe of threats, and then we know that if X will happen, then we trigger the Y. So that's actually essentially some kind of an automation that the team are being using. So what genuinely new in AI, that AI can learn the patterns, to understand the context, to connect between signals across different parts of the environment, not just to follow the rules, and which allows us to answer a completely different question. Instead of just saying like, did something suspicious happen, we should shift into where is our environment most likely to be exploited next. So it's kind of a mind shift, or that we need to move by, instead of rebranded AI is just something that makes us move faster in terms of automation, actually doing the same quicker. But the shift should be, if it's just speeding up alerts, then it's some kind of an automation. If it is changing how we understand the risk, that will be AI.
AI is not something new for cybersecurity. It's there for a while. I would say that my first project as a CISO for a big bank was done 10 years ago, when employing AI in the technology allowed me to reduce the stress level for the entire team to improve efficiency by improving the KPIs of the Security Operations Center we had at that time. Overall, improving the operation, including the costs of that Security Operations Center. What happened in the last couple of years, it's about generative AI that came in, and we can basically do a lot more things than we did in the past. Like we in the past were able to, like, for example, apply smart machine learning on data in order to do detection, but now we can do way more. As Miri mentioned, we can start from dealing with huge amount of data in order to get something meaningful for a SOC team, for a security team, for a security analyst, but we can improve almost all the processes within a security team.
Yes, it's not just run fast. You need to understand exactly that you are running fast in towards the right things. You are focused on things that matter, and you just don't, speed up things, but we don't any strategy behind that.
You've both mentioned two key points there: using AI strategically rather than just reactively, and also being able to leverage it strategically in a predictive way rather than a reactive defense, let's say. And I think that, it was even, Gartner had introduced the concept of preemptive cybersecurity, where organizations anticipate and mitigate threats before they actually materialize, right? So how would you say that, how realistic is that shift from reactive defense to truly preemptive security?
First of all, the shift is already here and it's happening, because pre-security, that's exactly what actually we do, and this is what the company is based on. Security teams were constantly running after detections. That means that the attack or the alerts already happened, and then we ran fast to see what's going on. So the main KPIs were mean time to detect and mean time to response. Now with AI, we can start to see where the risks are before anything happens. So it's not just about predicting the exact attack, it's about kind of spotting the conditions within our environment that makes attack possible and fixing them before they even occur. So the most profitable way to deal a breach, it's actually to prevent it from happening.
We all did until now vulnerability assessments, we all did risks assessments, we all did penetration testing and different types of technology validation in order to make sure we are ready to prevent cybersecurity breaches. But what is happening now is that all this information, so our information about the security posture of an organization, can be used proactively in order to understand what's going to happen. And this is something we've tried to do in the security world for a while with not so much success, because the things are so complex even mathematically, and also we didn't have enough data and enough processing power to get a meaningful information from this assessment process. Now, what GenAI it's bringing on the table, technically speaking, we can understand better a potential attack path that can be leveraged by an attacker in a specific infrastructure, and be proactively when we are managing and planning for security controls or for improving security controls.
Maybe to make that a bit more tangible, we can break down, what a meaningful risk prediction, or better yet, preemption actually looks like in practice.
I think that meaningful risk prediction is when you stop actually chasing the noise and you are drowning within alerts, and you actually start to focus on things that really leads to a breach, or things that really matters and have meaning. Okay, so instead of thousands of alerts that those security operations team are currently drowning in, we are looking for just of an handful of high probability attack paths. So we need to have those tools that actually already serving us the bottom line of what's going on and what we need to look at. So the question shifts from what should I investigate next to what should I fix first to prevent a breach.
Do either of you have any real-world examples of how this has already been seen in use that we can maybe expand on?
Leaving your window slightly open in your house, and then you also leave your front door unlocked. So each one, might not feel urgent, or we don't expect that, right at the same time someone will come and go inside. But if someone really wants to break into our house and knows that I left the window open and knows that the door is open, so together it makes it very easy for him to break in. So AI helps us to identify exactly those combinations and highlights that, this is a risk. You left this one open and this one open, and someone can actually use that. So simple, not even a cybersecurity thing. This is exactly why I can look only at the window and say, okay, the window is just slightly open, there's not an issue, but the AI will pick up that more factors are a bit risky and something bad can happen.
Absolutely. No, I think that helps paint a really clear picture also for maybe a wider audience that's not already deep into cybersecurity, of course. But are there any specific maybe signals or conditions that AI would be able to identify that the typical human analyst might not? Because a human analyst might also see that the window's cracked, but maybe they're focusing on the door and they're not paying attention to the window, to keep the analogy going. But I'd love to know maybe what that power is. Is it the multitude of being able to focus on all these things simultaneously? Is it the preemptive area? I think that would help maybe clarify also what sets it apart from a team of, well-trained human analysts.
I'm going to use the example of a technology that is called the Security Incident Event Management. So SIEM, everybody knows it in cybersecurity world. It was supposed to solve a thing, get the logs out of an infrastructure and do something with those logs meaningful for security. So the traditional SIEM platform never solved that problem. Never. Instead of solving it, they have added, so I know huge security teams built basically around such technologies, and this is where the SOC fatigue, alert fatigue, SOC stress, it's coming from. Because what they are trying to solve, it's basically very hard to be solved by humans due to the huge amount of data they want to deal with in order to get something meaningful out of it. So I mean alerts, then maybe investigate those alerts, enrich some alerts, and then validate if there is an incident or not, and then only then do the incident response. So what AI brings in is that we can make a tier 1 do activities done by now by only tier 3, which is something very important. It lowers the stress, the effort, the costs, and also the most important thing is that it improves a lot the efficiency of a security team and also of the technology itself, because we are not using the technology only to use that technology. We are using that technology to achieve something.
Humans at the end of the day can look at one issue at a time, and AI is actually able to connect things at scale and to help us with the flood of information and the context that we are getting from so many different environments. We have SaaS today, we have APIs. That's something that the analysts are not capable of handling manually anymore.
There are fully AI-built security technologies that came into the market, and press security is one of them, that are changing the way we look at the security from a technology perspective. And we need to think of it like starting with the implementation, with the sizing of security solution, with operating it, and also we need to look at the efficiency of using that tool. All those KPIs, let's put it this way, are changing nowadays. We cannot look at a new security project solving a security issue related to a business in the way we did a few years ago. We have options now that are going to solve a lot of challenges we had in the past.
AI is already and has been already reshaping the entire workflow when it comes to defense, which means also that training needs to evolve. You can't have an analyst or someone doing the same thing they were 5 years ago in order to keep up with the pace of how things are moving today. So how should cybersecurity training be changing together with this AI-augmented landscape when it comes to cyber defense?
I think that the training should shift from the alert response training into more of the strategic thinking, the decision-making training. So the analyst needs today to learn how to interpret the insights brought by AI, to validate the outputs, to understand exactly what the bottom line is and to prioritize accordingly. A lot of companies are very concerned, or a lot of SOC analysts concerned, that they will be replaced by the AI. And we are saying it really not at all. On the contrary, what we want to do now is to clear the noise. We want to give much more important role for those SOC analysts and to train them to be focused, to handle the real risks that they see in front of them. We want within those thousands alert for those analysts to understand that they have 5 they should be handling now. And that's where I think we should train them to look at the at the sweet spot of the environment and to understand what to handle first.
The basic knowledge is still there. People need to go and do the trainings, understand the basics of technologies. So the AI didn't change that. AI will not basically put information in our brains. But what changed, it's related to the need of dealing with new kind of threats, because AI is not coming only with opportunities, it's coming with challenges. So there is an entirely new AI security field that needs to be added into the trainings for the analysts. And also what the analysts should learn, it's how to use those tools. There are challenges that are coming. You mentioned that AI is used for cyber attacks. Yes, it is. And we cannot do anything to stop that. And I'm not speaking about the public AI, the commercial AI service providers. Basically, we used to speak in the past about different types of cyber attacks, different types of cyber attacks perpetrators. We are speaking about state actors, which is posing a different type of threat to the environment, and also about hackers. So now what is happening is that the complexity of cyber attacks is changing, because the AI can basically give state actors tools to a basically homegrown hacker, which is something we are going to see in the future as a change in the attack complexity. And I'm going to give you an example of what changed in the last 2-3 years, no more than 2-3 years. The complexity of a simple phishing attack. In the past, if somebody from a far destination in the world was trying to phish an individual in Europe or in the US or anywhere in the world, he needed to fake an email in their native language, which was something not very easy to do for them. And you were easily spotting mistakes in the text. Now you cannot do that, because the emails used in most of the phishing attacks are sometimes written perfectly in absolutely any kind of language. So one of the indicators that help people to identify, to spot phishing attacks has disappeared.
We talked earlier about the offensive AI, so unfortunately I do think that the attackers still can run faster now because they have like fewer constraints, right? They are focusing on one specific attack. They don't have to worry about, compliance rule, regulations, or how to scale. So they can run faster, and as mentioned, especially on things like automation and phishing, that is like perfect. You cannot identify phishing emails anymore. The real question would be not just who moves faster, is who is using the AI maybe more effectively and more strategically. And at the end of the day, we should again shift the mindset from detection and response to prediction and prevention. And once you do that, you are proactively ready to any attack. You are a step ahead of them.
If there was, kind of the first most important thing that organizations should start with in terms of preparing for automated, reconnaissance, exploitation, and social engineering at scale, what would you say is the key element that they should be looking at this stage?
The organization should assume that attackers will automate everything, as Ed just mentioned, because they can and they will do that. But not just automating response, but automating the way that we understand how to reduce the risk. So it's very important that we take the AI and we utilize it in the right way, not just add it on top of things and say, okay, we did that, let's use AIs to do things faster.
I would advise anyone to look at the security controls they have in place right now and assess them if they are strong enough to deal with the current threat landscape, which changed dramatically in the last couple of years. The trends, and I'm not speaking only about volumes, I'm speaking about the complexity of cyber attacks, changed dramatically. So in order to understand where you are, you need to understand what is happening, and if your current maturity model still valid, is still relevant, when you are dealing with new kind of threats and with these AI-generated attacks and the entire hype that is happening today, and is happening on the other side as well, not only on the business side and on the defender side.
I recognize that it's difficult to predict kind of how that will take shape in the future, but inevitably AI will continue to reshape cybersecurity and beyond. But what impact might that have in terms of security operations centers and what that might look like as we move forward.
So pre-security is today a security posture report within the platform that every hour we actually present, and we are focusing on where those SOC analysts should be focusing now. They know that, it's also very, very frustrating today to companies to hire SOC analysts. There's a lackage and shortage of them in the market. So I think that within those advanced tools, and by changing the approach, we will see the security operations team just thrive and being much more successful and bringing much more value to the organization today.
The way we were looking at using AI within a security technology and in a security platform was not so future-based, because people were still paying very much attention. It's happening today as well, but with a different level of, attention. It was about hallucinations or errors or other things. So most of the engines I know have improved dramatically in just 10 years. Why I'm coming with this topic, it's because it's about the trust in AI. Will bring us to the next level. So the trust might be a negative one or a positive one. To give you a pragmatic view of what I see to be an impactful change, we will have agents doing analysts' work, which is already possible. It can be done. It's already real, but it's going to be adopted more and more at least in big security teams and big security operations centers. I think this is the challenge of the day, because when you employ agentic AI, the traditional security market, so the tools we are using now to defend ourselves, are not prepared for that.
Maybe trust should come from understanding, right? Because if security teams can see why the AI actually is recommending something, so they will probably, trust it. So it's not just about the output, it's also having enough transparency to validate and actually make sense to implement those changes within their environment. So it's really to understand it, not just, to take, okay, there's the AI race now, because, a lot of companies that are adopting AI, I think that sometimes adopt it in the wrong way or do not fully understand how to use that. It's sometimes even worse, right? I would say sometimes if you adopt AI in the wrong way, it will just load even more on your teams, actually.
You both bring up good points, and you actually beat me to the punch of my last question, because I wanted to bring up the topic of trust and AI. And I think I agree also with you, Miri. I mean, that's what they always say. If you feed it garbage, it will spit garbage back to you. If you have a structured way to navigate and have it feed back to you, then you'll have a structured response.
It's a new era of cybersecurity. It's something that we were not ready to it in that extent. And organization needs to think exactly where they want to take their environment and what exactly they want to implement to make their life better. So I think that today, and that's exactly what we are offering today, you have to use a platform and a solution that covers everything we just talked about. You need to gain visibility. You need to understand the context. You need to utilize the data that the AI will bring to us into intent, not just to those ready recipes of detection rules, etc., that are not relevant anymore. So if you're going to fight with the future, you need to bring tools that will help you handle everything wisely.
We can try to create scenarios for the future, but as Miri said, the moment we are living now was not expected a few years ago by any analyst. So nobody has predicted the moment where we are today in terms of how AI will impact our lives. And I'm speaking about us as private individual, but also businesses and even the entire cybersecurity field itself. So about trust, I said something, you need to learn about it, but I don't imagine a world where each organization will have a mathematician employed to explain them in plain language what they are looking at, what that AI they are looking at means for them, if they can trust it, what that trust means, how that trust can be measured. It's a complicated process. I will use an analogy. The cloud market, big cloud providers came into the market and told the world, okay, give us your data. We are taking good care of them. We are dealing with a lot of performance issues that you had in the past. You are going to lower your expenses to ease your life, so on and so forth. They were not trusted too much at the beginning of their, let's say, business. other than the countries where they had infrastructure in. So people were used to see the servers, not just buy a service. They just perceive it as a web browser or something like that. But the things changed. My take on the growth of the cloud market was that the thing that brought them to the level they are today is the trust. The vendors that managed to deal better with the trust, they were the best in terms of financial, let's say, results and actually covering the market. Trust is the most important thing that needs to be solved. And then when we are thinking about the impact in the future, there are opportunities and risks in the same, let's say, portion. Let's put it this way.
And that wraps up this episode of Cyber Ranges Uncovered. Thank you to Miri and Ed for breaking down the realities of AI in cybersecurity, from cutting through the hype to understanding what it really takes to move toward predictive, prevention-first security. Stay tuned for more conversations on the future of cyber defense. See you next time.